What's up, everybody? I'm B-True, and yesterday patch 2.0.5 dropped for Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls, and it brought a lot of changes in the form of how farming is done, but it also changed a lot of the classes, a lot of their skills, a lot of their passives were reworked, and a lot of their runes had their damage changes in order to fit different builds and create some diversity. So today what I want to do is I want to show you my Crusader build that I'm using now. What I did was I went back, I looked at all the skills, all the passives, and kind of rebuilt a Crusader with a new build, and he's a lot of fun again. So now here, what I'm going to show you here, this is my primary attack. I use Justice with Crack. Now Justice does 245% weapon damage, as well as when the hammer hits with this rune, it has a 100% chance to crack into 2 smaller hammers. So it's going to hit an enemy, crack into 2 more, and then it's going to deal 245% weapon damage to each of these. So this is a little bit of a distance with an AoE attack built into it. Now this is Blessed Hammer with Limitless, and what this does is it twirls a hammer around you. And with this rune, there's a 50% chance that when the hammer hits something, it will split into another hammer. Alright, so this is what it looks like normal. You've got these hammers that just spin around you, and each time one of those hits something, there is a chance, a 50% chance, that it's going to split into another hammer on top of the hammer that's already there. So these hammers, if you're in the middle of a group, they can build up and do a ton of damage as these hammers start to multiply, which is why this rune's called Limitless. So next I have Akrat's Champion. Now this skill it was reworked a little bit. Now it increases your damage by 35%, and it increases your wrath regeneration by 5 for 20 seconds. Now I use the Hasteful rune, which gives you an increased 15% attack speed, just so you can continue to do more damage while Akrat's Champion is available. Next I have Heaven's Fury Ascendancy, and I use Heaven's Fury because it only has a 20-second cooldown, so you can use it pretty often. And Ascendancy turns into one large ray that does 2700% of your weapon damage over 6 seconds as holy damage. Next I have Condemn, and I have the Unleashed rune, which it triggers the explosion instantly, and this does a lot of damage. It also has a low cooldown. You're able to spam this when you get into the middle of groups. And then finally I have Judgment Resolved. What Judgment does is you can cast Judgment on a location, and then the enemies can't move when they're inside of the circle for 6 seconds. Plus, they changed the rune Resolved here, but now what this does is you have a 20% increased chance for any damage dealt to that enemy to be a critical hit. So if you have 40% crit chance for these 6 seconds while enemies are judged, you now basically have a 60% increased chance for it to be a critical hit. Now, if you can see here, all of these damages are holy, and that's because of this passive right here, which really brings the whole build together, and that is Holy Cause. Now, first off, what this does is increases the damage dealt by your weapon by 10%. Obviously that's big, you want the 10% increased damage, but then the second part is where the build comes together, and that is whenever you deal holy damage, you heal 1% of your total life. Okay, so all of these things you have here, all these AoE attacks and ability to hit multiple people, they're all holy damage, which is going to heal you for 1% of your total life. So you're able to heal a ton when you're using this build, and you're able to really just out-heal a bunch of damage, and some of the healing that you can get on this is crazy when you're in the middle of large groups of people. So this is a very important passive here. Next I have Heavenly Strength because I have a Maximus as my weapon, and Maximus is the second best two-handed weapon you can have as a Crusader, aside from Blade of Prophecy, which doubles the amount of impacts you get from bombardment, which is obviously very important, but I haven't found that yet. So for right now I'm using Maximus, and you want to use Heavenly Strength here so you can hold a shield with your two-handed weapon. They took off the reduced movement speed of Heavenly Strength, so this is a much better passive now. What I was using before was a Thunder Fury though, and if you want to stick with a particular one-handed weapon that you enjoy, you're going to want to switch Heavenly Strength to Fervor. Now what Fervor does is it increases your attack speed by 15%, and reduces all of the cooldowns that you have by 15%. So that's obviously a very important rune if you want to stick with a one-handed weapon. Next I have Blunt, which increases the damage of Justice and Blessed Hammer by 20%. So our primary and secondary skills both have their damages increased by 20%, which is a big increase to your damage. And then finally I have Vigilant, which gives you an extra 2,000 life per second, as well as reducing all non-physical damage taken by 20%. So all the elemental damage you take from Elite and Champion packs get their damage reduced by 20%, also just helping you to survive longer as that tanky Crusader that runs into the middle of battle. Now some of the things that I was thinking about for this build that you can change, if you do have a Blade of Prophecy, I would change Heaven's Fury to Bombardment, Impactful Bombardment, and that calls down one single explosive ball that does 3,300 weapon damage, and with the Blade of Prophecy, you will have 2 of these that come down and hit, and then this is going to do a ton of damage, and plus, it's going to, you know, really, with the Judgment Resolve, you get that extra critical hit chance. It's going to really take down Elite and Champion packs by a lot. And the problem is there is a 60-second cooldown here. So 2 things that I would probably work on changing. I would change Akarat's Champion from Hasteful down to Rally. Now what this is going to do is it's going to reduce your cooldown on all of your other abilities by 12 seconds. So this 60 seconds, after you call that down, you get the double impact, and it's going to have its cooldown reduced by 12 seconds. Another thing you can do is you can wait till Bombardment gets down to somewhere lower than 12 seconds. Cast Akarat's Champion, the cooldown will be refreshed, and then you'll get the extra 35% damage from Akarat's Champion done on top of your double Bombardment impacts, as well as Judgment Resolve, and you should do a ton of damage with that. Another thing that I would probably change is I would get rid of Vigilant here, because it doesn't do too much, and I would replace that with Lord Commander, which is going to reduce the cooldown of Bombardment by 35%. So you're going to be able to call down Bombardment pretty often with Akarat's Champion and this passive here, and you'll be doing a ton of damage with that whenever you see Champion and Elite monsters, whenever you get the Blade of Prophecy here. Now one of the problems with that is obviously Impactful Bombardment is not holy damage, but that is, you should be able to heal enough with your Justice, your Blessed Hammer, and your Condemn that you don't really need to worry about that, but it is something you want to think about. Those are just some things that I have that I use with this build right now. As far as Paragon points, movement speed is extremely important. It's something you want to focus on. You definitely want to keep as high a movement speed as possible, so I put all of my initial points into movement speed until I find something with movement speed. Then I put all of my damage in critical, or my points into critical hit damage, because what that does is, because you can't have 2 single-handed weapons and get 2 sockets for them, you want to increase your crit hit damage as much as possible with your high crit chance. So that's what I use for that. And then for defense, I like to split my points up a little bit and kind of vary them through the life percent, armor percent. I want to have at least 1,000 life regen per second. That way I'm able to regenerate some kind of life if I need to get out of a battle and then cast Justice a couple times to get that extra healing from the Holy. But then everything else is kind of built around keeping you alive. And then utility, I put everything into life on hit, because that's going to just increase the amount of healing that you're able to get, and that should really keep you alive pretty well. So guys, please like this video if you found it helpful. If you like the build, please try it out. Let me know what you think. If there's any changes you would make or anything that you guys do differently, please let me know in the comments below. I like to hear from you guys about that kind of stuff. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel to stay up with all the future news on Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls and the videos I'm going to make. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and have a great day, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.